Good morning, everybody. The Bart Winkler Show with my longtime friend, Justin Garcia of the Bucks Radio Network. Justin, what's up, buddy?
What's up? Long. Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day. What, like 15 years that we've known each other already?
Yeah.
Where has my life gone?
We've known each other, but we've kind of been like at the other side of the school. You know, like I'm over here and you're over there.
We grew up in the same neighborhood, but went to different high schools.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I remember you're a big Boy Meets World fan, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, so Minkus used to be in the early episodes.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't, and he was in like the finale of the high school years. And they're like, "Where have you been?" He goes, "Oh, I've just been on the other side of the school." Like they didn't interact with him as much. He was there. So we're present.
Yeah, which, I mean, it seemed like it was like a class of like 150 people there at the most. So kind of hard to believe you wouldn't see Minkus or run into him at some point, but probably had different studies.
Well, Mr. Turner just vanished. I think he'd gotten a bike accident and was gone.
Yeah, or I could see Jonathan Turner running off with a student's mom, the way that things appear to be headed, which is a tough storyline in this day and age. So maybe they preemptively just said, let's avoid this before it comes up.
Well, it's good to see a Boy Meets World notwithstanding. I will start with the Brewer trade. I'm going to just mention the Brewer trade. I talked to Evan Heffelfinger a little bit later in this episode, my good buddy from the 1250 days. We have recorded before the trade went down, and we talked about the Brewers' lack of trade. So later in the episode, that will get weird, but I'm not going to edit it. So just fast forward that part, I guess. The Brewers have gotten William Contreras, not Wilson Contreras, William Contreras, who I think is all right. I mean, he's Wilson Contreras' brother. He's from the Braves. They were in the All-Star game together. Remember that story? That was cute. And the Brewers traded away Manny Pena. It's a 3-team catcher swap. Manny Pena goes to Oakland. Manny Pena, of course, invented claws up when the Brewers tried to force that onto people. My words, none of this is Justin's commentary. The Brewers also renamed the restaurant to be named later today. They can redecorate that space 100 times. All we want are the Long Island
golf simulator.
Yeah. We just want Long Islands, man.
This isn't this kind of like the Dylan Brooks trade that wasn't, where it was who was it, the Suns that thought they were getting Dylan Brooks, and the Grizzlies were saying no, Marshawn Brooks. So the trade never went through, where maybe the Brewers were like, W. Contreras, let's do this. And then they find out tomorrow, oh, you didn't actually check that there's not a W. Contreras. Another one, we got Wilson Contreras. Okay.
You never know. I mean, you never know with this team. A lot of pessimism around them. I do say that one of the reasons why, because this year, the Brewers have had a lot of years like this, but this year felt different. I feel like the Bucks winning that championship, the Bucks were always the afterthought. But they
were
still. Hey, I watched Bucks Matt. No, what was the game on during the Packer game? I watched some of that.
God bless you. And even more so if you listened to the game. But yeah, I mean, the Bucks are still fighting that battle, which just, it absolutely perplexes me. Like, you don't need to be held prisoner by the Packers. They are not good. They've told you for months they're not going to be good. Who knows where this team is headed in the future? And like, the team that's most recently won a championship, the team that's best positioned to win a championship, the team that has the best individual player, and they're still third in the pecking order here in the state.
I think they can get up to.
It's tough. The Brewers get to sell the weather.
Yeah, and they also get to sell.
That people love to get drunk and tailgate.
Yep, and they get to sell anything outside of Milwaukee County.
Well, and they get to sell the golf simulator too. I mean, it's golf, it's Wisconsin, so yeah. That's an uphill battle.
Which, if you are in the market, if you're in the market for a golf simulator, check out my affiliate link on my Twitter page for Carl's Place. Don't be going to X Golf. You can get a golf simulator in your own beautiful home. Carl's Place.
Well, I wonder if I'll float the Carl's Place info to the people I know in business ventures with the Bucks, and maybe if we get our own golf simulator and Fiserv Forum, like that'll start to drum up even more, because there are the diehards. Not to say there isn't, but it's kind of like a niche fan, and I don't know. We're around the same age. I don't know what it was like in the '80s. I was all of like 4 years old when the Bucks were really peaking then. So maybe it was different then, but I mean, I think a lot of it is the Packers have been good for 30 years and the Bucks have been not good for most of those 30 years. So it's still going to be an uphill battle to kind of claim some of those fans. But I mean, for the time being, this is the team to put your interest in.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, beating the Packers, you're not going to beat the Packers.
No.
I think where I was saying was there is a different level of expectation. Like, I felt in the championship run, the Bucks were battling two different pressures. The pressure of themselves, like they need you got Giannis, and you've gotten close. And the thing with the Raptors series was awful, and in the bubble, which hindsight, I'm glad they didn't win. But you look at they had that pressure, but then they also had the pressure of the rest of the state, and we kept getting so close in different sports. The Packers, obviously, the Brewers had some runs, the Bucks themselves. I mean, nobody cares about the Wisconsin Badgers basketball team as much as we pretended to 6 weeks after the Packers lost the NFC North championship game. I mean, we care. It's we care, but I think a lot of that was just we were still heartbroken about Seattle. So I think the Bucks had all this like pressure and they overcame it. And I do think now other teams are like, well, the Bucks won. What are the Brewers doing? Why are you trading Josh Hader? The Bucks won. Go do that. Packers, what are you doing? Why do you suck? The Bucks won. If the Bucks can do it, why can't some of these other teams? So I think the Bucks have kind of put pressure on some of these other teams. At least like fans are being, the Packers, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of apathy, and fans are being a lot less like Brewers. You can do whatever you want. The Brewers are getting shit on hard. And I think some of that's because the Bucks won.
I think some of that is because the Bucks won it. If the Bucks would have lost that series to the Hawks, I'll say, because if they lost the series to the Nets, people are disappointed. But then it's, well, what did you expect? I mean, look at that team. If they lost the series to the Hawks, then like sports might have just had to fold in general in the state of Wisconsin, where it was just beyond repair of getting so close and then having it snatched away from you. But them winning, I do think is kind of made fans hold other franchises accountable more. Like case in point, the Josh Hader trade. I think in the past, you'd probably see a lot of people buying into, well, this Esteori Ruiz, I really think he's going to be something in a couple of years. And they know something about the pitching in this. So I don't know. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But once you saw the Bucks of all teams as the team to do it, I think that really sparked more of, wait a minute, we should expect to win.
There's different standards that I have, and this is something I'll kick around throughout the show, but there's different standards I have. Like with the Packers, they need to win another one with Rodgers. I've always felt that way. You have to win more than one. I don't know if I'll get to that point with the Bucks. I mean, if they keep getting that close again and don't win, ultimately, I think they're going to win again. I think they'll win this year. I think they'll win this year. But if they don't, am I going to be? I don't think I'm going to be like hard on Giannis the way that I try to tear Rodgers down and his personality every chance I get. And so I also look at like, well, what's going to happen with the Bucks? There's people that'll come on here when I do some live shows and they'll say, oh, you got to trade Middleton. You got to trade Middleton because you got to get what you can now. I'm like, let these dudes play forever. I don't want these guys to leave. They gave me that run. I've been calling Middleton, here's controversial hot take, the third best Buck of all time. So I'm like, let these guys play here, but that's a different approach than I take with the other teams. Maybe because the Bucks won, maybe Giannis. I don't know.
So I obviously am biased here, but I think within a year, by the end of this year, it's not going to be all that controversial. I mean, he's going to be the third best Buck of all time, at least statistically speaking. It's going to be him and Giannis up there with Kareem in a lot of those categories, not specifically the point dominant categories. Middleton is going to be up there, and he has the championship where I think, we talk about Kareem so much, but depending on the age group that you're in, I think a lot of times those 80s teams, those guys can get slighted a little bit just because it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And a lot of younger Bucks fans know nothing about that generation other than Marcus Johnson is the guy that's on TV. But Chris Middleton's going to be in the top 3 in most statistical categories, and some of them number 1 or the top 2. So within a year, I think statistically, he's already going to be the 3rd best Buck player of all time.
It's just the conversation around him has always been
terrible.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm playing defense. I mean, even when he, and this is a guy who there was no Jabari Parker type expectation on him. There was no like, hey, let's take this guy with the 10th pick, Thon Makers type of situation. This was, hey, we're gonna trade, and then they're sending us Chris Middleton the match. Who, I don't know, some guy.
Yeah.
And then
we traded for Brandon Knight, and whatever you got to throw in.
So it's not like you were promised anything. All of this is a throw-in. And then he plays well enough, and they're like, I don't know, guys, we might have to give him 4 years, $40 million. 4 years. He's going to make $10 million a year. And then the contracts balloon. And then he's always like on the right side of right before the contract and the tax balloons. And then we'll trade him. Get back Bradley Beal for him. Well, you can't. And also, why? We're so like here in Wisconsin, we're like, if it's ours, we love Quick Trip so much, I'm going to make it my personality. We love Culver's. I'm going to sit in line for the butter and curd burgers. We have Chris Middleton. Get him out of here. What's the deal?
It's the most frustrating conversation. And the frustrating part is it kind of died down a little bit. I think the peak of it was, what was that? The summer of 2019 when he signed the extension, and there was he's not a max player and you can't pay him this much money. And you'd have to constantly have the conversation of assets. And here's how the cap works. You can't just let him walk and then sign somebody else. That's not how things work here. So if for no other reason than to have the asset, you have to sign him. And, oh, by the way, he's good and he's worth this money. But we put so much worth on, he's making more money than Giannis. Well, yeah, that'll change in 2 years, and it's going to continue to be cyclical. But I genuinely thought that conversation was dead once they won the title, because you cannot sit there and dispute how large of a role Chris Middleton played in that championship.
They don't win without him.
They don't win without him. The game winner in game 1 of the playoffs against the Heat, what he did, he hit the game-winning shot against the Nets. He was the guy with that field goal. I know there wasn't a whole lot of offense in overtime, but it was his basket that put the Bucks in front and allowed them to win the game. And then, of course, what he did against the Hawks, he had a 40-point game in the finals, and yet we're still having this conversation of Chris Middleton isn't a number 2 and he turns the ball over too much.
This is our Tuesday, December 12th edition of the podcast. We've got much more to come. We'll be right back. Back with Justin Garcia. It doesn't play as well as YouTube, but I got to edit in my ad locators. All right, so the 12th, did I say Tuesday's this? I don't care. It's the 13th. I'm talking, whatever. This isn't live. You all know that. What I want to say is that December 12th was the 7-year anniversary of when the Bucks beat the Warriors to go 24-1. I was at a wedding that night, so I wasn't able to watch a lot of the game, which is why I have a lot of bad feelings towards that game. But I do think that 24-1 is a low point in Bucks history. Those T-shirts are so embarrassing. I am just disgusted by it. The Bucks 7 years later are going to look for a vengeful Warriors team who have won 4 championships, but still were dethroned and are going to be out for blood on the Fiserv Forum battlefield tonight. Is this a finals preview? Yes.
Do you think it's a finals preview?
I do.
You do.
I think the Bucks are winning the title. And I'm not putting chairs out this time. I'm putting ladders. And I think the Warriors will get out of the West.
Okay. You should. I think I'll be first to market on this idea, and I'll let you have it. You should put out deer stands for the title and just be sitting up in a deer stand along Wisconsin Avenue.
I don't hunt though.
Well, neither do I, but I'm sure we can find people that would put up a deer stand for Bart Winkler.
He wants a deer. I've been waiting for that.
I think I probably know a few of them. I don't know.
How about this? Would you trade 10 years of your life if it guaranteed Chris Paul never getting a ring? I would trade 20. I would trade 20. I'd die tomorrow if it guaranteed. I was going
to say, if I give up 10 years at the way things are going, I might not make it through the end of the season. So
yeah, the person making it, God would be like, I'm going to need 4 of your years back. Right. And I'll take the next 6.
Yeah, he's like, well, what if I do this? And he might be a part of a championship team, but he's going to be injured and not actually experience it. That's all I can give you based on the years that you're trading and what you actually have left.
Yeah, you can't offer me enough life for this deal.
It's the equivalent of God telling you the credit card was declined.
Yeah, I can promise you that they'll make Game 7 of the playoffs, and he will have the game-winning shot, but you will die without seeing it go in. You will die at that moment.
I can promise you will never see him win a championship. That's as far as I can take
it. Yeah, funny.
So
no, answer the Bucks Warriors one.
So I mean, it's a cop out. It's either the Bucks or the Celtics based on what happens here going into the second half of the season. But so far, those two teams are clearly the best teams in basketball. And, I'm going to be curious to see Boston with Robert Williams back because it actually benefits the Bucks, where that's a big part of why they lost last year is when Time Lord went down, it was taking a shooter off the floor or it was putting an extra shooter on the floor. So it was tougher to play big and play Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez together. So I'm going to be curious to see it because I think by the time we have that Christmas Day matchup, both teams, knock on wood, are going to be pretty close to healthy with Robert Williams and Joe Ingles likely back. The West is much more of a crapshoot to me that I guess I would side with the Warriors just because they've done it before, but I thought the Grizzlies would take a little bit of a step back. That doesn't appear to be the case. Who knows with the Pelicans? I mean, that's a team that's kind of given you Grizzlies vibes from a year ago. I still really, really like the Suns or believe in the Suns despite our Chris Paul hatred there. And in the West, there's just you're better off picking the field in the West versus in the East. Take either the Bucks or the Celtics.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Celtics for sure. I'm not going to deny that they're not playing well. I don't think the Bucks lose to them if healthy, but that's going to be a battle. I guess we'll see. I'm excited for the game. This will be the first game of the year that I go to.
Do you think if you're the Warriors, why wouldn't you show up wearing the 24-1 shirts?
If you're the Warriors?
Yeah. Like, hey guys, remember this?
I just think it was, I hate that that happened.
Well, it was also a time when that's all you really had to cling to. Like
I was saying, because I'm so clairvoyant and usually right. I was saying, except for this year, I said the Packers would have the best defense in the league. I was so clairvoyant. I said, there are so many good things to come. Don't waste it on this. You're wasting it. And like I said, I didn't get to see the game. So I felt like I was kind of not really a part of it. I'm sure if someone offered me a ticket and said, put this shirt on, I'd be hanging up behind me.
Oh yeah. I tried to get one of the shirts because that was my first year on the job and trying to feel like, how do I get one of these shirts? And to no avail, especially after they ended up winning the game. But like that just feels like a lifetime ago. It was a different building. It was probably my favorite Bradley Center memory. And Greg Monroe, of all people, was basically the best player in the game.
Do you like my Bradley Center space idea? I know they want to do a concert hall, but I think they should put a Bradley Center museum on the site. Basically rebuild the Bradley Center. Just no events in there or anything. You rebuild it and you point to stuff and say that's one of the seats from the Bradley Center. I mean, it'd be a totally functional building, but
do it to scale too. So like it's
Yeah.
just a tiny little Bradley Center, and like you can come by. Like here's where Bruce Springsteen played 13 times. Here's where John Bon Jovi held the final concert in this building.
Here's where Austin 316 started.
Here's the Austin 316. Well, actually, it started at the Mecca.
True. My bad.
But here's where Kane chokeslammed Mick Foley through a car, or whatever event that was.
How are you on your wrestling upkeep? Are you watching every show every week?
Oh man, it's tough. I was at a point last year where it was just psychotic levels of keeping up with it, and then I just don't have the time during basketball season, so I usually just cheat and rely on Reddit to fill me in. And if there's a weekend where there's no games and I can actually watch one of I'm not going to call it premium live events. If I can actually watch one of the pay-per-views, then I will. But my upkeep with Raw and SmackDown is not that great. And now I've kind of reached the point where I should probably be careful, because I'm still trying to find a hookup for WWE tickets. Thought I could get some for a Raw at Fiserv Forum, but alas. But I do have a connection with AEW. So each time they're in town, one of the guys I used to work with actually works for Turner now. So I get tickets to their shows. So I do somewhat keep up with them, but it's kind of reached the point where it's hate watching, and it's just gotten bad, where it's hard to believe those two have flipped to where they were a year ago.
That's what I wanted to say. I realize that I'm a WWE like loyalist.
Yeah, so am I. It's
like
I tried to get out of that relationship as hard as I could, but then all they got to do is look at you and you're like, all right, I'm back.
I know. There's a lot of gaslighting going on. I always say WWE is 95% shit, but then the 5% that's good is so good. And, you know, my wife would always walk in whenever I was watching wrestling. She'd never walk in when it was like the apex of a feud or a 5-star match. It was always like Santino swinging his hip.
It's Hornswoggle revealed to be Vince McMahon's son, or Mae Young giving birth to a hand.
Yeah. Or Funkasaurus dancing with the Funka ladies or whatever the hell. He's got a nice career now.
What a turn for that guy. Unbelievable.
So, because AEW, I was like really into. I was getting more into it, and I just think it sucks now. I like MJF as the champ, but
yeah, it's gotten like too cute, where it's just let's play to like the Uber fans, and like you're talking to 1% of your audience right now. And the biggest 180 for me was I was almost out the door and like meeting up with AEW, and I was going to leave the relationship and marry them. And freaking Cody Rhodes, of all people, I hated him in AEW, and that's who fully brought me back into WWE.
I know, the guy smashes the throne and he's back in. And then he's hurt. It doesn't matter. He's there, man.
No,
it's great. AEW, I love the shows. It's 2 minutes of a women's match that should have at least been 10. Then it's an ROH match. Then it's the crowd popping for some guy from Japan I never heard of. Then it's a segment I like. And then it's a main event that should have been the main event on their Friday show.
Yeah, and then you get the elites who, look, do put on good matches, but all of the passive-aggressive stuff that goes on there. The most interest I had in AEW was obviously the CM Punk stuff. And I actually went to Chicago for CM Punk's debut last year. Like, that's how far into the nerdom I was with AEW.
That was such a great moment. Like, I was Friday night. Yeah. I told my wife, we're not doing anything tonight. She's like, normal night in this house.
Yeah, it was incredible. And like, as soon as he came out, you knew, like, what if this does? Because if that was WWE, he doesn't debut where they tell you, hey, it's going to be CM Punk. Like, don't worry. And then it's going to be the gobbledygooker son or something like that. So when he actually came out, like, it was amazing, just the atmosphere in there. And I remember as soon as he was done, like, I got to go to the merch stand, and then seeing the lines were like, I waited in line for the rest of the show, which like taped additional shows of Dark. So it was like 2 more hours, and I was waiting in line the entire time just to get a friggin' CM Punk t-shirt.
I bought a CM Punk card on the internet, or I thought I got a free one from Upper Deck. They're like, "Hey, CM Punk card." I go, "Oh, I'll get a free one. Send it to my house." And I checked the mail every day. The card never came. And then like 2 months later, I looked, and I just only bought a digital copy of the card. So then I
printed it out and put it in a case.
No, I spent $30 to get a real one. I was like, "Well, I already have it. It's my card. Give it to me." And then
my interest has dropped with AEW. I mean, I still occasionally will pay attention, but I have never been so disappointed in myself than when I keep saying like, well, I just can't swing this. I'm out. And yet quarterly, I still spend the $50 for their pay-per-views, and I've only half paid attention, half know what's going on. And it's every single time like, why did I do this?
Oh yeah, I still watch every show and I'll pay for it. I like to complain because that's what I do, and that's what wrestling fans do. I do want to thank you. This is actually 3 days out from the first episode, or 3 months out from the first episode of my podcast. I've been doing this for 3 months now. How about it?
How about it? Yeah, I mean, it was.
Do you admire my hustle?
Well, it was like about 3 months of me texting you and DMing you and sending you Facebook messages daily, begging to come on the show. And now it's finally happened. So I do admire the hustle.
I'm also, see, you're somebody that I haven't like really worked with, but someone I like. So I'm also trying to reach out to some of the people that I've had public tiffs or feuds with. This is part of my branding of Infrastructure Week, where I'm going to rebuild the bridges that I've burned.
Have you formulated a list for that?
I'd like you to help me with Wildy.
Okay.
Is he good?
I can call him right now. We can try to put him on the show, but I would have to tell him. I think it kind of works the same as radio, where I'd have to tell him, "Hey, you're on the air." He might push back on that with who the host is, but I can see what I can do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to try to do that. Steve Zabin, I think I would like to have on. Zabe.
I can't help you there.
No. Bill Michaels.
I might still have the number. I haven't talked to him in a while, but yeah, way back when I was his producer, so we can see.
I actually have him in my phone as hold on. I gotta. This is don't. I have him in my phone as. Hold on. This is worth it for the video. Can you can't wait. Dumb fuck unit bitch.
You know what? I feel pretty good about getting him on the show.
We had a falling out.
Apparently we did too. I don't know what led to that, but it was one of the sadder moments of my life.
I think one of the saddest things about this business, and not to get too inside, but this is an industry, radio, whatever this is, as I sit in front of this green curtain, where we constantly rip on and criticize. And it's our
job. Set up for failure. Yeah.
And then the moment that we take one punch back, oh, I'm hurt. Oh, did you hear what they said about me? Oh, this guy's saying this stuff about me. What are we doing? We're all a bunch. What I'm saying is we're all a bunch of dumb fuck unit bitches, Justin.
Well, I think where I would almost rather be you is it probably sounds like not as intended, but because you've been so vocal and outspoken with your feelings on some of these people, you know who doesn't like you or who has an axe to grind with you. I know there are people that feel the same way about me. I don't know who they are because I haven't picked fights with them. So for all I know, it could be people I work with daily. It probably is people I work with daily, but who knows? So maybe I'll change my ways, and I'm just going to start picking fights with everybody but Dave Kane now.
Well, you should. And just, I want you to know that this is your future if you do. Unshowered in the middle of the afternoon, in front of a green screen, in front of a basement wall that does seemingly have some questionable issues. This is what speaking your mind gets you.
Well, I mean, that's for me, that's no different than any game day that isn't a home game. So like any other day of the week, that's the same thing.
There are no home games in my life anymore. There are none. It's a sad, sad world. Thanks for your therapy and thanks for your Bucks takes.
You're welcome. I mean, when's the last time you were up in the cross?
So right after I got let go.
Oh, geez.
I emailed my buddies. I said, I need to be there within the next 7 days. And then we went up for a day. So September.
Oh, man.
Labor Day weekend. Labor Day Friday.
Oh, you went for alumni weekend?
No, it wasn't alumni weekend. Maybe it was.
Yeah, alumni weekend is usually Labor Day.
I don't know. I've just been trying to get.
It was a blur. Yeah, I haven't been there in like a year or so. Our buddy Grant keeps trying to get me up there, and I do have to make it up there. But I keep trying to pitch like, how can Dell's become a sponsor of the Bucks Radio Network, and then the only payment is just going to be give me a bar tab. I'll go up there quarterly.
I like that. When I was there, I did stop by Grant's studio. We're talking Grant Bills, of course, friend of show. I'll actually be on the next episode of this pod. And I posted on Twitter that I was there for a job interview. And like his coworkers saw it and believed it. They're like, we're hiring this guy? He's like, no.
Were his coworkers in the list of people that you've also offended? And that's why, like, this guy?
Yeah, it's very possible. Very possible. Yeah, me and Brad Williams have an axe to grind.
I could, I have to go into the studio tonight. I could just go in there and wait until it's like 6 o'clock ish and a handful of the shows are letting out and there's more people there, and just casually mention this was what I spent my afternoon doing and see if I get confirmation that there's more people for you to add to the list.
I'm going to eject myself from this conversation. One of the names that you mentioned, Esteury Ruiz, was in this trade.
Oh,
the Brewers traded Ruiz for William Contreras and 2 arms. Justin Yeager from Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know him.
And Joel Payamps from Oakland. And Ruiz is going to Oakland.
You know what really annoys me? And I had to actually pay attention to the Brewers last year because somebody had left who's not in that camp. Our pal Matt Pauley, at least as far as I know, does not despise you. And
Matt Pauley and I. No, this is. We're good. Thick as thieves.
All right, good. I was going to say, whoa, he lied to me.
Matt Pauley's on my side of the Civil War in Avengers media.
I had to help pinch hit for him. And what really grinds my gears, I don't know why, and I was trying to think of like, what is the basketball equivalent besides all advanced statistics? Like, oh, you know what the effective field goal percentage or his true shooting is? But when you hear just the term velo, like we've gotten that lazy that it's, he's got good velo. Like, no, it's velocity. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's pretty sus. All right.
Yeah. No cap on that.
Any baseball stat that has one letter lowercase and the next letter is uppercase, I'm like, this ain't real.
Any stat, or you just contain that to baseball?
Pretty much any stat. Like RBI, they're all capital. WRC plus, get the fuck out of here.
Whenever you include the plus, and I went through it with basketball, where there was a stretch over the summer. It was during the bubble, right before it, when nobody had anything to do, and I was just sitting. What you're doing now, that was me every single day. Only it extended until like 11 p.m. and occasionally I would play PlayStation. But then I dawned on me, like, you know what you should do? You should like try to figure out how to create your own models for basketball. So I did that for like 45 minutes, and then it was just like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, no, what is this for? And why have I done this?
Some of these people, there's this one guy that sits up all night and does the spreads for every college game. Like he'll do them, and then he sees what the Vegas spreads are, and he's like, "Oh, I had this as a 1-point favorite for Arizona, and Vegas has a 2-point favorite, so I'm to take that game." How about you just wait till the spreads come out?
Yeah, I hate to break it to him too, but I don't know if he's heard of them, but Bill Simmons and cousin Sal already do that, so he can just get the information from them prior to those games.
Yeah. Anyway, he'll be part of Infrastructure Week. Because I just
Bill Simmons.
I had a falling out with Bill Simmons. Not that
I think we all have, but you think you're going to get him on?
No.
Oh,
no. I did when I wrote a blog called the Bucky Channel. I did. I did write an article once that he linked to in his links.
Oh, for the GM?
Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody did that. That was huge around that time because, that's how we initially met. Like we were in lacrosse at the same time, but never. I don't think we actually met when we were in lacrosse. It was for that godforsaken sports bubbler that son of a bitch Dan Walsh set up.
Yeah. Oh, Dan Walsh used to be a prominent figure in the Milwaukee community till he just vanished 7 years ago. I have no idea where he is.
He's still in Milwaukee. I think you can find him at Cops most of the time, but other than that, yeah. Still around.
Yeah, I had the well, they might make another position conversation with him 17 times.
See, my conversations with him were usually like, hey, it's 10:17. Where is your blog? You do this every Monday morning, and you said that you had things going on last night, and it was just me sleeping off a hangover.
Yeah. Yeah, Winks thinks every Wednesday.
Yeah, we had, what was the Brewtown beat, which not quite as good as Brew City, but I thought Brewtown just rolled off the tongue more, but then gave up on it. And now apparently there's a band in Milwaukee called the Brewtown Beat. So they have that web address and everything else and the Twitter handle.
Oh shit. You sue them or no?
I was going to do that, but then I realized I don't have any money for a lawsuit.
Yeah. You got to spend money to make money these days.
That's what I hear. But I've been spending money and it's not coming in.
Well, once we get to the sports bubbler portion of our friendship, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna say goodbye, farewell. In my phone as dumb fuck Garcia bitch, it's Justin Garcia.
I just have you in there as best friend.
Thanks, Justin.
Anytime.